What if I told you that a Roman emperor who died nearly 2,000 years ago holds the secret to mastering modern dating apps? Listen closely, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal how the ancient philosophy that helped Marcus Aurelius lead an empire through plague, war, and betrayal can transform your relationship with Tinder, Bumble, and every swipe-based nightmare you've been enduring. Stick with me until the end, because I'm going to share a counterintuitive truth about dating apps that nobody talks about, something that will completely flip your understanding of rejection, matches, and what it really means to find genuine connection in a digital wasteland. Let me guess your story. You open the app with hope. You craft what you think is a clever opening line. You swipe and swipe and swipe some more. Maybe you get a match. Your heart does that little jump. You send a message. You wait. Hours pass. Days pass. Nothing. Ghosted. Again. Or worse, you do get a response. The conversation flows. You think something real is happening. And then, vanished. Without explanation. Without closure. Just another face that disappeared into the algorithmic void. Here's what nobody tells you. You're not struggling because you're unworthy, unattractive, or broken. You're struggling because you're trying to maintain your emotional stability in a system specifically designed to keep you anxious, desperate, and coming back for more. Dating apps have gamified human connection. They've turned the profound act of seeking partnership into a slot machine of dopamine hits and crushing disappointments. And you're exhausted. But here's where our story takes an unexpected turn. Marcus Aurelius became Roman emperor in 161 AD. Imagine the pressure, the most powerful position in the known world, inherited during a time of plague that would kill millions, constant warfare on the borders, political betrayals, and a court of people who wanted to manipulate him for their own gain. Sound familiar? Replace court politics with dating app dynamics, and you've got the same fundamental problem. How do you maintain your inner peace and sense of self-worth when surrounded by chaos, rejection, and people who don't value you the way you deserve? Marcus didn't have a therapist. He didn't have self-help books or motivational podcasts. He had Stoicism, a philosophy built on one revolutionary idea. You cannot control what happens to you, but you have absolute sovereignty over how you respond. And before you think, oh great, another philosophy telling me to suppress my feelings and pretend nothing hurts, pause right there. Because that's not what Stoicism is about at all. In fact, I'm going to prove to you that Stoic philosophy is the most emotionally intelligent framework for navigating modern dating you've never been taught. Here's the loop I'm opening right now, and I'll close it before this video ends. The dating app masters, the people who find genuine connection without losing their sanity, aren't doing what you think they're doing. They've all discovered the same secret, and it has nothing to do with better photos or clever bios. Let me introduce you to one of the most powerful yet misunderstood Stoic practices, Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils, or negative visualization. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they can't tell good from evil." Now, before you think this is pessimistic, listen to what he's really saying. He's not saying everyone is terrible, so give up. He's saying prepare yourself mentally for difficulty so that when it arrives, you're not devastated. Here's how this applies to your dating app experience right now. When you create your profile, you're probably thinking, how do I make myself appealing? What do people want to see? How do I get maximum matches? This is the trap. You're building your profile from a place of external validation, which means you've already surrendered your power to the algorithm and to strangers who don't know you. The Stoic approach is radically different.
Before you write a single word in your bio or select a single photo, practice negative visualization. Close your eyes and imagine, what if nobody matches with me? What if I send 10 thoughtful messages and get 0 responses? What if someone I'm genuinely interested in ghosts me after 3 great conversations? Now here's the crucial part. Don't just imagine these scenarios. Ask yourself, if this happens, will I survive? Will my core value as a human being diminish? The answer, of course, is no. You'll be exactly the same person you were before you opened the app. Epictetus, another great Stoic philosopher, taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. So here's your first Stoic dating strategy. Craft your profile from a place of truth, not strategy. Don't write what you think will get matches. Write what reflects your actual values, interests, and boundaries. Use photos that show you as you genuinely are, not filtered and posed into an impossible standard. Why? Because you're controlling the only thing you actually can control, your own authenticity. Whether people respond to that authenticity is completely outside your power, and therefore, philosophically speaking, not your concern. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Listen carefully because this is where most people get Stoicism wrong. This doesn't mean you don't care about outcomes. It means you don't tie your emotional stability to outcomes. You still hope for connection. You still put effort into your profile, but your inner peace doesn't collapse when the external world doesn't cooperate. Now we arrive at perhaps the most transformative Stoic concept, Amor Fati, love of fate. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny for what could more aptly fit your needs. You might be thinking, wait, are you saying I should love being ghosted, love having 0 matches? That's insane. Not quite. Let me explain what Amor Fati actually means and how it's secretly the most liberating mindset you could adopt right now. The dating app algorithm is chaos. It's influenced by factors you'll never fully understand. Timing, geographic location, how many people are online at that moment, patterns in other users' behavior, the app's proprietary formulas that change constantly. In other words, whether you get matches often has very little to do with your actual worth as a partner. Most people approach dating apps thinking, if I don't get matches, something is wrong with me, or if this conversation dies, I failed. This is a catastrophic error in thinking. You're assigning personal meaning to an impersonal system. Amor Fati teaches you to embrace reality exactly as it is, not as you wish it to be. Instead of fighting against the algorithm, resenting your match rate, or feeling bitter about conversations that go nowhere, you shift to a radically different question. What can I learn from this exact experience I'm having right now? Got ghosted after a seemingly great conversation? Amor Fati asks, what is this teaching me about detachment, about not building elaborate fantasies before meeting someone in person, about the fact that other people's behavior is about them, not about me? Matched with someone who shares nothing of substance? Amor Fati asks, what is this revealing about my own communication style? Am I being interesting, asking interesting questions? Am I being genuinely curious about this person or just performing? Seneca, the great Stoic statesman, wrote, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. Here's your second Stoic strategy. Keep a brief journal, it doesn't have to be elaborate, where you record not just what happens on dating apps, but what you're learning about yourself through each interaction. Someone was rude to you? You learned that you can maintain your composure and kindness even when others don't. That's character development. That's growth. Someone brilliant matched with you and then disappeared? You learned that possibility is everywhere and gone just as quickly. That's wisdom about impermanence, which is one of the fundamental truths of existence. Now, I know what some of you are thinking right now. This sounds like I'm making excuses for a system that doesn't respect me or for people who treat me poorly. Excellent objection. Let me address it directly. Amor Fati is not passivity. It's not accepting disrespect or lowering your standards. It's about emotional liberation through acceptance of reality as your starting point, not your surrender point. Marcus faced betrayals, losses, and disappointments that would crush most people. His response wasn't to pretend they didn't hurt. His response was to refuse to let external chaos control his internal state. That's power. That's dignity. The Stoics believed that the good life is the virtuous life. The four cardinal virtues were wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. And yes, these apply to your dating app messages. Here's what Marcus wrote. Waste no more time arguing what a good person should be. Be one. Let's translate this to modern dating dynamics. You match with someone. The conversation starts. They're inconsistent, sometimes responsive, sometimes distant. They make vague plans that never materialize. They send mixed signals. Most people's response, match that energy. Get distant, play games, make them chase, protect yourself through manipulation. The Stoic response? Radically different. You practice virtue regardless of how others behave. Not because you're a pushover, not because you think being nice will win them over, but because your character is the only thing you truly own in this life, and you refuse to compromise it based on how strangers treat you. Wisdom in messaging. Be honest about your intentions. If you're looking for something serious, say so. If you're genuinely interested in someone, express it clearly without games. The outcome isn't in your control, but your integrity is. Courage in messaging. Have difficult conversations when boundaries are crossed. Exit conversations that don't serve your well-being, even if you're worried about seeming rude. Saying, I don't think we're compatible, but I wish you well, takes more courage than ghosting, and it's the virtuous path. Justice in messaging. Treat every person you interact with as deserving of respect, even if you're not interested romantically. Remember that behind every profile is a real person who might be struggling just like you. Temperance in messaging. Don't overinvest emotionally before meeting someone in person. Don't send 20 messages while they send 2. Don't build elaborate fantasies about someone you've never met. Stay grounded in reality. Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Your third Stoic strategy. Before every interaction on a dating app, take 3 seconds to ask yourself, what would my best self do in this situation? Not your desperate self, not your game-playing self, not your bitter self, your best self. Then do that thing regardless of outcome. Here's what happens when you practice virtue consistently in digital spaces. You build an unshakable foundation of self-respect. You stop feeling like a victim of the dating app system because you're no longer giving your power away to external validation. And paradoxically, though this shouldn't be your motivation, people are magnetically drawn to individuals who have clear boundaries, authentic communication, and emotional groundedness. Part 4. The Stoic exit strategy, knowing when to walk away. Now we arrive at perhaps the most difficult but necessary skill, knowing when to disengage. Marcus Aurelius faced this constantly. As emperor, he couldn't simply walk away from his responsibilities no matter how overwhelming. But he could walk away mentally and emotionally from circumstances that threatened his peace. He wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control." Here's how this applies to dating apps right now.
That conversation that's going nowhere but you keep trying because you've already invested time? You have permission to exit. That match that makes you feel anxious, small, or like you're constantly auditioning for their approval. You have permission to exit. That entire app that's become a source of misery rather than possibility. You have permission to exit. But here's the Stoic distinction that matters. You exit not from anger, not from bitterness, not from showing them, but from a calm recognition that this situation no longer serves your well-being. Seneca wrote, "The whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately." Your fourth Stoic strategy: practice negative visualization with what you fear most. Close your eyes. Imagine your dating app experience continues exactly as it has been, or gets worse. Maybe you never find a meaningful connection through these apps. Maybe this entire approach to finding partnership doesn't work for you. Ask yourself, what's the absolute worst outcome? You're single? You're exactly where you are right now. And guess what? You're surviving it. Right now, in this moment, you're okay. This realization that the worst-case scenario is manageable is profoundly liberating. It means you can engage with dating apps from a place of curiosity and openness rather than desperate need. And when you engage from that place, everything shifts. Marcus reminds us, very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. Now here's the plot twist I promised you at the beginning. The entire point of applying Stoic philosophy to dating apps isn't actually to help you find a partner. I know, stick with me. The point is to build an internal fortress of self-worth that remains completely unshaken by whether you find a partner or not. And paradoxically, when you build that fortress, when you truly embody these principles, you become exactly the kind of person who attracts genuine connection. Because here's what nobody tells you about dating apps. The people who struggle most aren't struggling because they need better photos or wittier bios. They're struggling because their entire sense of value is tied to external validation. And that desperation, that need, radiates through every interaction, pushing away the very connection they're seeking. The Stoics understood something profound. When you stop needing something to complete you, when you recognize that you're already whole, you paradoxically become magnetic. Marcus Aurelius dealt with the immense pressure of an empire that needed him, depended on him, demanded things from him constantly. His survival strategy was remembering that his worth wasn't determined by whether he met those external demands perfectly. His worth was inherent, based on his character, his principles, his commitment to virtue. Your worth isn't determined by your match rate, response rate, or relationship status. It's determined by who you choose to be in the face of difficulty, by the character you build when nobody is watching, when the results aren't what you hoped for, when the external world refuses to cooperate with your plans. The secret I promised you. Remember at the beginning when I said I'd reveal what dating app masters all know? Here it is. They're not on dating apps to find completion. They're not swiping to fill a void. They're not messaging to prove their worth. They're simply exploring possibility while maintaining a complete sense of self that exists totally independent of the outcome. That's it. That's the entire secret. They practice Premeditatio Malorum by mentally preparing for rejection, which means rejection never devastates them. They embody Amor Fati by embracing whatever the algorithm delivers as their current reality and opportunity for growth. They maintain virtue in every interaction because their character matters more to them than any individual match, and they exit gracefully when situations don't serve them, without bitterness, without drama, with complete emotional sovereignty. The Roman Stoics faced wars, plagues, political betrayals, and the constant pressure of maintaining an empire. You're facing an algorithm, strangers' opinions, and the temporary discomfort of rejection. If they could maintain their inner peace through their challenges, you can absolutely master yours. Your path forward. So here's what happens next. You have a choice right now. You can return to dating apps with the same anxious, validation-seeking, emotionally exhausted approach you've been using. You can continue letting ghosting devastate you, letting poor match rates define your worth, letting the chaos of the algorithm control your emotional state. Or you can adopt the Stoic framework. Start today, right now. Before you open that app again, practice negative visualization. Prepare mentally for the worst while hoping for the best. Craft your profile from authenticity, not strategy. Commit to maintaining virtue in every interaction, regardless of how others behave. Practice Amor Fati by embracing whatever reality delivers as your teacher. And most importantly, build that inner fortress. Build a sense of self-worth so solid, so unshakable, that no amount of swiping, ghosting, or algorithmic chaos can touch it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Your thoughts about dating apps, about rejection, about your worth, these are entirely within your control. The apps themselves, the algorithm, other people's responses, completely outside your control, and therefore, philosophically, not your concern. Focus on what you can control. Let go of what you cannot. Practice virtue, embrace fate, prepare for difficulty, exit gracefully when necessary. These aren't just dating strategies. They're life strategies. They're the same principles that helped a Roman emperor maintain his humanity and wisdom while leading an empire through absolute chaos. If these principles were powerful enough for that, they're powerful enough for your dating app experience. The moral lesson. Here's what I want you to take with you from this. Respect, the thing you're looking for from others, the thing you feel you're not receiving enough of on dating apps, starts with how you respect yourself. Every time you compromise your values to get a match, you disrespect yourself. Every time you tolerate poor treatment because you're afraid of being alone, you disrespect yourself. Every time you tie your worth to external validation from an algorithm or strangers, you disrespect yourself. The Stoic path is the path of profound self-respect. It says, I will control what I can control. My character, my choices, my response to difficulty. Everything else, not my concern. Marcus Aurelius, facing the weight of an empire, found peace through this philosophy. You, facing the weight of modern dating, can too. The respect you're looking for externally is already within you. You just need to stop giving your power away to people and systems that don't deserve it. Be authentic, be virtuous, be prepared, be detached from outcomes, be complete within yourself. Everything else will follow. As Marcus wrote in his final years, confine yourself to the present. Not the past rejections, not the future anxieties, just this moment, this choice, this opportunity to embody your best self. That's where your power lives. That's where your peace lives. That's where genuine connection begins. Now go swipe with wisdom. If this resonated with you, if you're ready to transform your entire approach to dating and to life through Stoic wisdom, subscribe to this channel. I'm breaking down ancient philosophy for modern problems every single week, and I promise you, the insights only get deeper from here. See you in the next one. Stay stoic.